Hey there, hope you're doing fine today. Came out to the beach and I want to talk to you about a few things and get right to the subject of my talk today. We have one cloud that is making this tolerable, but it's downright hot here in Naples, Florida, and humid today. We have some cooler weather coming in. I always tell everybody that wants to know about my fair city that there's always a nice breeze here. And I say that even though that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes the breeze isn't as nice as we want it to be. So, tide's coming up. And fishing's good, I guess. But let's get right to the point. Last night on Twitter, I had quite the discussion with a couple of Twitter friends of mine. And the discussion was about, again, how can I make sure that the amount of protein that I'm taking in is not going to cause some sort of imbalance with my extreme keto diet, maybe something that you're doing if you have cancer. And you don't want to feed the cancer cells. And so, like I've told you on these videos before, and also like I've read in books, that not so much on the videos and the chatter going on in Twitter, but mainly in the books, that you can overdo your protein level and that will set off the liver to start making glucose out of this excess. And of course we know that glucose feeds most cancer cells. So that's what we really got into last night. These beautiful plants here. Was the fact that not all cancer cells can be stopped by a glucose starvation. And one nurse that was on there, and she's been very prolific, and I'll put her website down in the comments, down in the description rather. Joy, she started, let me just sit down here, get a little better chat with you guys. Get away from the waves just for a couple seconds. I'll still give you some of the ocean, okay? She got in there and she started asking me, okay, so what kind of cancer do you have, Dave? And I said, well, up at Moffitt Cancer Center, all they told me was, you have gallbladder cancer. I mean, you have what appears to be, how they tell you, they don't tell you, hey, you got cancer. They go, you have what appears to be gallbladder cancer. So I said, and in my funny little way, is there only one flavor of this cancer? And my nurse up there, Alicia Chin, she said, yes, that's it, gallbladder cancer. Well, she's wrong. Sorry, Alicia. It depends, it's very dependent on where the cancer originates, according to scientific papers. Now, the cancer can come up from some other area in your body and implant itself. You know how cancers do. They like to metastasize in different areas as they flow through, if they're flowing through. Some don't. There's two different types I've learned. Some that are like farmers, stay in one place, just take advantage of the cells around them. And then the other type are the type that's more of a warrior type, right? They have the idea that they got to go routing about Is that the right word? About the body and, make things crazy for you. That kind of cancer, for me anyway, the way I understand it, and I'm brand new to this, is that, it's hard to track down. It's hard to stop because you can't just take it out. You can't chase cancers around in the body. You can't do an operation here. Oh yeah, now it's in his elbow. Let's operate there, take out a tumor, and that's not the way it's done. So, but not to say that mine, which is a gallbladder cancer, could have come from somewhere else in the body. That part we really don't know yet. I mean, I don't think they've done enough. In my CAT scan, no other area lit up in my body except some little nodules on my stomach. But later, another doctor, the one that did my biopsy, determined that they didn't look cancerous at all. They didn't look suspicious to her. These little ants bite. Because I guess I look like food. Yeah. Anyway, I had my hand down there. It's tasty. So she didn't go into that, and she just thought, okay, let's go for the main one that's near the gallbladder. Of course, you can't do a biopsy of the gallbladder. Not, of course, you guys didn't know this probably, but I didn't know, and I asked, well, why not? And they said, well, because the gallbladder is sort of like a balloon, and if you touch it with a needle, it's not a good thing. So they just do close by, and what they got back, they said, yeah, these cells are cancerous. They didn't tell me that. It's just Alicia said, you have what appears to be. So you need to find out the name of that, and that part I do not know yet. I went on Google, Dr. Google, and found out what's the most common cancer that gets close to or gets into the gallbladder. And I came up with a name. And then what I Googled then was, does this type of cancer, put the cancer name and then glucose deprivation. Came up with a bunch of scientific papers. Now the scientific papers, some of them were, it appears that they weren't very conclusive on what was going on. So it was hard to, and also they're paid for papers. I don't know why they publish, do science and then make you pay for, the results. I guess they got to make money, but most of these places are funded by something, either a government or by a huge hospital that makes, how our American healthcare system is here. We have enough money to fund every clinical trial that you could ever dream of. Of course, we don't want any biases in there, but there's money to be had in the medical area. There's no excuse for cancers being not, cured by 2021, and it's just a big money machine, and I'm part of it now. I'm in the middle of it. But what I want to tell you is that there were some instances where this type of cancer actually adapted to a glucose-free environment. So that's what Joy, the nurse, was getting after. What type of cancer do you have? Because some cancers are tricky in that they can adapt to different environments. You take the glucose away, okay, we're going to find another way to survive. And on this particular cancer, in two documents that I found, their way to survive and adapt was to use lactose. The lactose that's kind of like floating around the body, right? They use that to survive on. So I have not done any research on, how to get rid of lactose in your body. I know I do. I drink tons of water. I know that's a good way to flush anything out of your body. If fasting helps, I'm going to go into that kind of research because, you want to hit this from all sides if you can, right? And I do have my first visit with an oncologist today, which should be interesting. I'm hoping he's on board with some of this keto stuff. I'm just hoping. Or that he's at least curious or open to it. I'm going to tell him about it, of course. and I want to hear what he has to say after reviewing all my documents, and should be an interesting conversation. There's more that I wrote down here to talk to you guys about, so let me get my notes out. Yeah, glucose starve. You want to find out what kind of cancer you have, and if you glucose starve it, which is what we're doing with this therapeutic ketosis. If you can glucose starve it, can this bugger adapt? You're getting a lot of wind here. And the third thing I wrote down is, does this mean that your efforts are in vain? And sometimes you think, that thought comes in my head, not every moment, but I think about it. I think about, I'm doing a ton of effort here to stay healthy and to fight this thing. And are my efforts, are the things that I'm doing, are they making any difference? And the only way I'm really going to find out is the same way I'm using my Keto Mojo unit that measures my blood every day, measures the glucose and measures the ketones in my body, and then comes up with a GKI, a glucose ketone index, which helps me know if I'm in a deep therapeutic state of ketosis or if nothing's working. Now, on my end, using that GKI index, I'm staying in deep therapeutic ketosis, which is what I want, because ketosis is the thing that's gonna starve off those cancer cells. Most cancer cells do not have a receptor for ketones, just for glucose, but they do adapt in other ways. So, we have to keep that in mind. Now, like I said before, don't get crazy and think that what you're doing is not working at all, because these scientific papers that I read, for one thing, all I could read was the synopsis, part, which is not very enlightening sometimes. And then the other part of it is a lot of them weren't really conclusive. It appears that, the thing is starting to transform and use lactose instead of glucose. So, okay, guys. I'm in ants are hungry, they're foraging about. Yeah, so that's an interesting part. You gotta know that you can back stuff up by, isn't that beautiful, with scientific evidence on this thing. And so far, there's another thing too. I read these papers really late last night. I stayed up almost to midnight, which is 2 hours past my sleeping time. And I'm a very disciplined sleeper. Everything I have here is a routine that I go through, and that keeps me going. But I can't really find any conclusive evidence by what I've read so far. And also, what I was going to say is that there's a certain amount of bias on my part that's going to be in there, because I want to see that there's no conclusive evidence, right? Because I want to know that what I've been doing since the 14th of March is actually helping. I might have mentioned in my videos, I know I've been all over Twitter with it, that I have this craving to eat a huge portion of steak or something like that, and go back to my carnivore ways. That's the whole idea about pushing the protein limit to, and is that going to mess up my protocol here? Because I don't want to have that excess protein going to those cancer cells, right? And then I had people say, well, that's not going to happen, Dave, because the excess protein is driven by demand. And I'm thinking, well, what's demand? I mean, I need protein through the day. So does that mean that it's going to turn to glucose because I'm walking around and then go to the, So I there's a lot of it I don't understand. When they say that it's demand driven, what does that really mean? So that's where I'm at. I want you to find out what type of cancer you have. Go on Google, or if you have a ketose doctor, man, you are living in heaven, and ask them if this is some type of cell that if it's deprived of glucose, can it adapt and survive some other way? So I don't think that there's any problem, because I've seen so many success stories. Here's another thing I did. I kept going down through Google, and then it was showing these people that have the same exact name of cancer. It's a long name, that's why I can't tell it. I should have written it down on my notes. But I'm not sure that's the one I have, and I'm going to ask the guy. I mean, if they did a biopsy, for sure they know the name of the thing, right? That this is a common one that's in breast cancer. And then breast cancer, man, there's hundreds of stories online of people that have been really helped by a therapeutic ketosis diet, therapeutic keto, or what do you call it, a nutritional keto diet, that have been helped in shrinking their tumors and stuff in breast cancer with this exact same type of cancer. So that's why I think, don't give up, don't stop, just keep doing your part. You can't help what these cancer cells are going to do. You can war against them, but if they mutate, or if they do something different, you just have to go to the next step. I'm going to get out of here because I think the ants have found me, and then we can finish up this video too. So now I have more sand on me than on the beach. But you have to just, day at a time. Didn't leave anything, and do your part. And for me, it's like, there's so many success stories that, this thing's got to be working. Okay, and the other thing is, just like I was saying about my Keto Mojo meter, I use that because I want to measure, what I'm doing. And only with measurement are you going to find out what you're doing is being successful or not. You gotta know. So that means that I have to get with my oncologist and find out if they're going to do measurements to see if this thing's expanding or shrinking or whatever it's doing. I want to see the before and after. I want to know that what I'm doing, what I'm putting together, is actually being a success. And I want that for you too. So once again, find out what you got. Go online, because you can do this. There's lots of studies to find out if that one is, if it's deprived of its glucose, if it can adapt. Most of them can't, but a lot of them can. Joy said there are even some cancers that can use the ketones, but that's super rare. I told her, yeah, but isn't that in a super small percentage? And she said, yeah, but you gotta know what you have. And then she mentioned a few cancers that work super well with a therapeutic keto diet. One of the biggest ones, which is surprising, is brain cancer, really. This diet just super helps that, so it's exciting. Anyway, remember that food is medicine, and man, keep up what you're doing, keep searching, keep investigating, keep digging. And thanks for watching this. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't, please subscribe. And like the video, like everybody says, because it really does help. All right, thanks so much. And another look at the beautiful Naples beach right here. Oh yeah, look at that sand. It's a nice day. It's a hot one. Goodbye. We'll check in with you tomorrow.